Okay, so we'll start with the past. The past is some sort of victory. So we're looking at you looked within, you decided what you wanted to do, and you went for it. You've had an increase in terms of your willpower. You've been acting on your will, and you've been receiving energy through acting on your willpower by making a decision to go with something. And your intention, where you're hoping to get, is represented by the Empress, and this is representative of it's the archetype of Mother Earth. So a lot of creativity, the kind of creativity that grows and grows and grows and never really ends. It's an archetype, it's an energy, it's what you're heading towards. It's also that sort of loving and caring energy, as you see the swan and her chicks there. It is a sort of union with the Mother Earth, so very much like a feeling connected to the land physically. It's also one of a card of birthing. So the completion of a birthing process, perhaps, is what that would suggest. So that's your background. So that's kind of the framework for the reading. So that's what it read up on. So that's where you started. That's where you want to go. And here's where you're at right now. And you have the Magus, the magician. The Magus begins the journey and sees that all things are possible. Here are the basic elements available to you, and it takes a certain amount of cunning. That's why there's the monkey there. A certain amount of play and intelligence to see what's available, to see that you are master of your own destiny. You can do what you want to do, basically. This journey is yours to decide. And it's crossed and therefore compounded with the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups is the fire part of water. So it's that sort of that passion for the emotional bond. There's a certain sense of self-sacrifice, of renunciation of the instincts, of giving yourself to others, giving yourself through creativity or through emotion, but also being very pure-hearted. No intentions other than healing. So that's the combination that represents your current status. So you realize you can do anything, and it seems like you have the intention to do good, to renounce your instincts and to heal others. The guiding vision at the moment, or what's kind of apparent about the situation now, is the Eight of Swords. And this is a card of essentially having too much information. There's too many options. There's too much going on. It's like just information overload, and therefore it becomes a hindrance, because you need to sort through it. You need to cut through all the information. It's like these swords would be trying to go forward, but there's all these in the way that are impeding the progress. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that there's a lot of options, so you have to sort through it somehow. And then the foundation is the art card, which is about undoing old form and creating new form, a higher form, sort of alchemy. So there's the principle of dissolve and bind. You undo certain things that you don't want and reassemble to create things that you do want. And that is the sort of work that's going on here, and the foundation of your current situation. That's why you are here right now. So, and to kind of sum up the present again, you realize that you can do anything, but you also have an intention to be somewhat selfless. there's an enormous amount of opportunity and information, which can be overwhelming. And there is the reason you're doing this is because, in a sense, you're trying to destroy the old and create something new. So this card is the immediate future, and it's one of oppression. And oppression is not exact. It's a little misleading. It's an impression of the spirit, in the sense that the spirit would love to keep going and expanding and doing whatever, having new experiences, but there are practical things that must be learned, and the way in which it expands must be confined within certain boundaries, and therefore it's a certain oppression. It's an oppression but it's one that also gives form and gives boundary to what's needed. So it feels like oppression, but in the larger scope, there's a larger order to it. So there'll be a realization of that in the near future. Your relationship to this is the Queen of Cups, which is the water part of water. That means, so much like she seems, she's kind of this priestess figure, this very, very deep sense of the mystical, of the emotional, of the spiritual. She dives and reflects deeply into the water, and has 1 foot out, like this bird has 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out, and rides between essentially the realm of the seen and the unseen. And so this is how you relate to your own situation, and in a sense, you're very receptive. You're very open to higher levels of spiritual information. And your background or your environment is one of fortune, which doesn't mean blind luck in itself. It's more of it's been explained as the ocean tide heading back after the wave. The wave crashes and then it starts to recede so that a new wave can come. This is the receding of the wave so that a new one can come. And this implies a certain need to let go of the old and be open for the new, so that something new can arise, some new luck. We discussed that one, so I'll skip over. But again, that was either the hope or the fear. In this case, it looks like the hope, and this is the eventual outcome, or the advice, depending on how it fits in. And we have the 10 of discs, which is wealth. Wealth is related to how you perceive wealth. Wealth also infers inner wealth. If you have $1 million and you feel like none of it means anything to you, then you're poor. If you have $1 and your life is extremely meaningful and extremely full of joy, then you are rich. So this is what wealth is referring to. And so whatever you're heading towards is going to give you a sense of wealth, a sense of value, a sense of your own worth as a human being. And it will reach a pinnacle. It's going to reach a pinnacle in a spiritual form. The form of the coins here is the Kabbalistic truth life, which is essentially like a spiritual ladder of how to ascend to quote unquote God, whatever that means. And so there's that layer to the kind of wealth that you'll discover, that in a sense there will be a deep spiritual understanding available through what you're going through. So how are we doing?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Any anything to clarify? Any questions?
How do I break through the oppression?
Aha. It's not a question of breaking through. Are you familiar with astrology? If I gave you astrology references, would you understand them? No. Okay. Well, there is form to all things. There's a form to the universe. There's patterns that exist. Nothing can exist without outside of certain patterns. For instance, if you want to learn to run, you have to learn to walk first, right? So, if you want to go on a trip across the country, you have to be prepared. You have to have certain things done. So it's not necessarily about pushing through it, but rather allowing yourself to surrender to it and conform to it and realize the wisdom behind it. That, it's, the first, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. You got to start somewhere, and you can have these big ideas, but if you start,
so your compression is taking me here, that will help me with my finding creativity, that will take me there.
It's more of, the way I see it is more framed like this. You are making decisions in your life. You've decided to take this journey. And so when you make a decision, there are echoes throughout reality of consequence that occur. And this is merely the next step that you're going to have to face as a result of the choice you've made. You want to do something, you have to back it up. You know what I mean? You got to put your money where your mouth is. Right. So I think it's more of that. This is related to the present. So you currently have this going on, and in a sense, this might be testing it. And so I mean, your current kind of outsider's view on your situation looks pretty positive. And this might just be a sort of a technicality that you just have to address. Sometimes the mundane gets in the way, and you just have to take care of the mundane, because the spiritual and mundane are one and the same.
Well, I sense a media oppression, and I can't figure out if it's because I'm not creative enough, or if I'm not being my true self, if I'm just walking and being a civil rights activist, or am I really understanding that this is a spiritual journey, and to capitalize on the spiritual part of my journey rather than the civil rights part of my journey. Because I think people are more inspired by inspirational sayings than they are being told that they're going to have consequences by violating civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think that's an interesting question in general. But
like, will I attract more wealth by being true to myself rather than working to change the outside world?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. And I think this card could be related to that.
Yeah. Why not get a book on minerals and go creek walking? Right. Rather than always on the phone to a member of Congress or the media, mm-hmm. where I'm not getting any attention anyway. Mm-hmm. I mean, I am a little bit, but they're not listening in part.
Yeah. Well, this does relate to the sort of the pressures from the outside world that you work against. Like you think about the water and the stone. The water keeps pushing against the stone, and eventually the stone, erodes away. It takes a long, long time, but the water persists. And the Taoists say the highest good is like water. So that's the idea. You persist. This is my truth. This is my truth. This is my truth. This is my truth. And eventually, what is not true does not last. And because you can last and you can say, this is my truth and this is my truth, and you stay strong in that, you will outlast. That's kind of the idea. So when you run into oppression, you just hold your ground, right? You know, like that was Gandhi's thing too. It's like, okay, they don't agree with me. I'm going to sit here and show them that I'm here and I'm not going anywhere, and you have to deal with me. So either if you want to beat me up, beat me up. You know, if you want to whatever, but I'm solid in what I believe in. I'm solid in what I'm doing, and I'm not going to let you push me away. So that's part of. So that's like the flip side to spiritual idea
too.
Sure.
So is King, so is Kennedy.
Sure.
And I'm all like, and this is all around the Civil Rights Act.
Sure.
And I'm all like, do I want to continue going down the path of the Civil Rights Act?
That's the question at the present. That's the question at the present, because here you see you have free choice, right?
Right.
You can create whatever you want, but at the moment you're creating this sort of martyrdom. This is a sort of martyr king, you know. He gives himself to everything, and you have to ask yourself, if this is the path you're choosing, are you ready for the consequences? And check yourself. Are you? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. If you're not, then it's time to do something else. But if you are, you're in the right place. So, and your situation is such that you have, spirits with you. You have access to that in depth and relationship to that, and you have fortune on your side. And you're like you've said, you let go of things easily, and that brings more fortune. Right. to feel like, oh well, I appreciate what I have, but I realize it will come again.
So I just have to go through this to get there and stay my course. Sounds like.
This is representative. If you stay your course, this is where you're headed.
Okay. I will end with that.